may be the greatest catch I've ever seen in my life.
Okay, my dudes, this was highly requested, so of course we're going to come out and, I mean, pretty much y'all just been spamming the comment section going, when do we know if we're a contending roster? What do we do if we are a contending roster? Because I can tell you right now, based on us running both a redraft channel and a dynasty channel, I mean, redraft season is upon us right now. The dynasty views are starting to trend down. The redraft views are skyrocketing up, where I can kind of just tell based on that people are transitioning their mindsets. They're looking forward to 2021, not necessarily their long-term builds. So the tide is starting to change, and I think we need to make sure that teams that are going to be contenders know what to do this upcoming season. So of course we can talk about that. But before we get into it, guys, please go down there, drop a like, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. It helps us out a ton. And yeah, let's dive into this. And with this video, I think the best thing that I can do is go through, talk about some strategy for what I'm doing at this time of the year in trying to identify what our team's going to look like. And then afterwards, mainly because I'm lazy, because we are moving the studio from Austin to Tampa on the 21st through the 24th. So I'm going to be very, very busy. And y'all know that I have to do about 5 podcast breakdowns every single day, breaking down your dynasty teams, talking about what I believe the roster construction should look like and what changes you can make. So we are going to combine the two. I was supposed to break this team down over on Patreon today, but no, we're going to highlight it on a YouTube channel. Please, guys, be aware, if you send me your team through Patreon, there's a chance that it's on the YouTube channel, because I need to make sure we are getting out these as fast as we can. And yeah, so let's dive into the strategy behind it. And the number one mistake that I actually see for people to go through and turn their team into contending rosters at this time of the year, because keep in mind, it's the middle of July right now. We are a little over a month away from the football season, and they are trading away their future draft picks. Now, I understand wanting to go through, trade away your picks, especially if you believe that you are a contending roster. And I'm fine doing it if you just have a complete juggernaut. I mean, on Patreon yesterday, we broke down a team that literally was like Justin Jefferson, AJ Brown, DK Metcalf, Alvin Kamara, Dalvin Cook. And then all of a sudden I go down to the picks that they have, and somehow they have like 7 future first round picks. And I'm going, okay, this league's folding sometime soon. Sure, trade away those picks, get production right now. I don't care. This team is so dominant. Sure, if you're a roster like that, go ahead, trade away your picks. But if you're a team that you're looking at it right now and you're going, okay, well, I am almost certain we are a contending team, but at the end of the day, I mean, we are not going to be by far and away the best team in the league. I want to actually be holding on to our picks right now. And I made a video about this a couple weeks ago, maybe a month ago now, but really, the last thing you want to be doing is trading away those future picks before you know what you're trading for. Because we could sit here and we can confidently say that, yes, Alvin Kamara projects to be a significantly better running back this upcoming season than a DeAndre Swift. We can say that, and we can say the majority of the time, Alvin Kamara is going to outproduce him by a significant amount. But right now, where we have not seen what the roles look like for these players on their NFL teams, while we haven't seen what Myles Gaskin looks like in Miami, while we haven't seen what Chase Edmonds looks like in Arizona, I don't necessarily understand the thought process of you going out there and trading away your future draft picks to get those players. Because I would rather, even if we have to pay a slight premium, even if we have to pay 10% more of the sticker price, I think we would rather see what the roles actually look like on the field through the first few weeks of the season. Then we can decide to trade those picks away. Because a really bad thing that people don't understand is, I know that it seems like right now, once we get to week 4, week 5, week 6 of this season, that picks are not going to be worth nearly as much. But that's the exact opposite of the case. While in theory, it's a great idea to think that every team's going to be a contending roster. Every team is going to be in a situation where they're looking to get veterans right away. They're looking to sell away their future picks. We have to understand the reality of a dynasty fantasy football league. And the reality is, if you go through and you look at your league's landscape, there's most likely 1 or 2 teams that are rebuilding. There's most likely a handful of teams that are trying to contend right away. And all of those teams had all offseason to go through and make moves with future rookie draft picks. So what you really find is you find that there's probably 1 or 2 teams in your league that have 3 to 4 future first round picks, where the contending teams in your league have already traded theirs away. They don't have any future picks to really be able to go through and move once we get to the season. Whereas if you are a contending team, or if you're on that edge and you go into the year and you're the only team left that is able to sell picks, the market for you to sell those picks and bring in veteran players is actually going to be a lot more favorable for you than you actually think. Now, once we get to week 2, week 3, when everybody thinks they're a contending team, yes, that's going to be a very bad time for you to go through and trade away those future picks. But once we get to weeks 4, 5, 6, at that point, you're actually going to have multiple teams in your league kind of realize, oh, well, crap, we started out this year 1-4. This looks like it's a rebuilding team. Now I need to sell these veteran assets. And when you're the only contending team left with your future picks, you're going to be able to go get Joe Mixon for a future first. You're going to be able to go get a running back like a Myles Gaskin for a future second. I mean, it's going to be very cheap for you to acquire those players compared to what you are having to pay now. And a big thing is, when you're actually acquiring those players, you're going to know exactly what you're getting. Right now, they're all just projections. We don't know what the exact role is going to look like, even if we think we can accurately predict it. I mean, our predictions are going to be a lot more accurate once we get to week 6 of the season. So at the same price, halfway through the year, you're going to get to handpick the players that aren't injured, that you know their role, for most likely just the same rookie picks you would have traded away right now. Now, another thing that I want to really emphasize is do not be trading for rental running backs right now. I mean, we made a video about this a few weeks ago where I highlighted the running backs that don't have long-term guaranteed contracts, that are really just rentals at their position. A guy like a Chase Edmonds, a guy like a Myles Gaskin. I mean, really, you're not finding that much long-term value with them. So I don't like the idea of trading for running backs like that on a contending team unless we get halfway through the year and you can do it for like a second-round rookie pick. Because the big thing is if you think you're a contending team and you need to trade your first-round pick for Myles Gaskin right now, are you sure you were a contending team? Because I think a strong contender doesn't need Myles Gaskin that bad where they're trading a first-round pick to get him, even if you like his value. So I see no reason to be trading for short-term rental running backs at the moment. If you are going to be making trades and you are going to be going and trying to bolster your roster to be a contending team right now, I want to be trading for cornerstone assets. I want to be looking at some of the prospects that we just took in our rookie draft. I want to be looking at someone, just say like a wide receiver with a Devonta Smith profile. And then if you can find a contending team that has Stephon Diggs, then go try to trade Devonta Smith in a first for Stephon Diggs. Go get those elite pieces that you are confident the production will be there this upcoming season. And at the same time, you're not trading for an asset that's going to lose a dramatic amount of value next year. So I am much more likely to trade up to get studs on my contending teams than I am to trade for those short-term fill-ins. Because if you're a real contending team, you shouldn't need the short-term fill-ins until we get to week 7, until we get to week 8. And then maybe you have an injury, maybe you have a bye week, then you can go get those guys when you know who's producing. So now let's dive into this actual team, and I really want to just illustrate exactly what we're talking about here. And so this is what you find out on Patreon literally every single day. I do this for probably 4 to 5 teams, and we're going to probably be highlighting more on the channel just because, I mean, I need to make sure we are continuing to get these out, and I have videos to make since we are moving. But anyway, let's go through, and at the quarterback position, Ryan here is going to have Deshaun Watson in the starting lineup, Jalen Hurts and Justin Fields down there on the bench. So the quarterback position, you're completely fine with it. And this is a 1 quarterback league, 10-team format that is also PPR. So when you have Watson, yes, that's someone that you're not expecting production from maybe right away. Maybe you have to wait until 2022. But at the same time, we know Jalen Hurts, Justin Fields will be perfectly fine plug-and-play fill-ins. With Jalen Hurts, I love him in 4-point passing touchdown leagues this upcoming year because we know that the rushing production, at least the ceiling for the rushing production, is elite. So now if we go over to running back, I mean, this is another very strong position where you have Najee Harris, Antonio Gibson, David Montgomery, where I'm perfectly fine with that. Keep in mind, it's a 10-man league, so the threshold for a player to actually be a league winner is going to be a little bit higher. The roster should be a little better if you are expecting it to be a contending team. But here, if we just go through and we map out what this would look like in a redraft format, I mean, in a redraft league, Najee Harris is a late first round, early second round pick. Antonio Gibson, an early second round pick. David Montgomery going in the middle of the 3rd round. So you have a ton of assets, not to mention you have Travis Etienne and Trey Sermon down there on the bench. So this is the perfect combination of what you're looking for a running back room to look like in Dynasty, where you have 3 down guys on their rookie contracts. There's nothing better than that, and they should be productive right away. Now, going over to wide receiver, there's Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, Mike Evans in the starting lineup. And then down there on the bench, there is a ton of depth. Nelson Aguilar, Will Fuller, Mike Williams, Antonio Brown, Emmanuel Sanders, Michael Pittman, Amari Rodgers, Nico Collins, Rondale Moore. So this is the perfect example of if you think this team is strong enough to be a contending roster, what we can look to do to improve it. Now, no, we're not trading for Myles Gaskin. We're not trading for Chase Edmonds because on a contending team, you really don't need to be doing that. But instead, we see how much wide receiver depth is here, and we go, how can we package this together? Because we know there's so much depth that it's not going to necessarily matter if we lose a piece or two to get an upgrade in our starting lineup, and at the same time, not only get more production this year, but have a longer shelf life of that player that we are getting. So possibly you look to go through and you see that you have some younger wide receivers in Michael Pittman, in Rondale Moore, and then you could also just throw in a veteran guy that's going to be productive right away in a Will Fuller. And if you can go through and you can try to start making those type of trade packages and say you can offer a few of those guys and get a Chase Claypool, get a Brandon Ayuk, get a CeeDee Lamb in return, someone that you know is going to be more productive this upcoming season. At the same time, they're going to have that long-term shelf life. So that's what I'm looking to do on a contending team. We're upgrading our starting lineup. We're trying to consolidate those pieces that really have no, I don't want to say real value for us, but that's a poor choice of words. Instead, those pieces like a Will Fuller that we're unsure of his long-term value, a Rondale Moore, we're not necessarily knowing if he's going to be productive right away. Might as well get someone that has both, and I think you can do that by going through and making those trade packages. So now at tight end, you have Dallas Goedert that we are seeing. And then if we go down there to the bench, there is Jonnu Smith. So tight end, perfectly fine here. Keep in mind, this is a 10-man format. So I would say that this is going to be on the weaker side of the tight end position. I really do like Dallas Goedert, though. I mean, I'm perfectly fine having him as our tight end 1 in Dynasty for a 12-man league. In a 10-man league, it's kind of iffy. But if we're looking at this team overall, while yes, it's young, I think that it's actually ready to compete right away. But because it's young at the same time, we need to understand that there's no rush to go out there and all of a sudden flip this into a contending roster. If this team wants to be I don't want to call it a rebuilding team, if it wants to be a team that's putting off production until 2022, that is completely fine. And a great thing is about keeping your future draft picks. Say we look at this team, well, yes, it looks great on paper. We need to know that Dynasties played through a range of outcomes. All of fantasy football is a range of outcomes. Just because this team looks like it's one of the stronger teams in the league going into the year, what happens if Deshaun Watson does indeed miss this entire season, which at this point is definitely a possibility? And then some of these rookies, some of these younger players don't necessarily provide production right away. Say if Najee Harris starts off slow with how bad that Steelers offensive line is. Say if Jamar Jefferson, after taking a year off, isn't necessarily up to par. And on top of this, maybe you get a significant injury. Maybe Antonio Gibson and that toe injury that he has is lingering. And by the time you get to week 4, this team is 1-3 and you really don't like where it's at. I mean, at that point, you're happy that you saved your future draft picks. While yes, maybe you could have picked up an extra win if you decided to trade them earlier on. At the same time, you at least have the flexibility to turn this into a team that doesn't have to contend right away. Because once you trade away those future picks, all of a sudden you were locked and loaded. And this is something I talk about a lot on Patreon, where if someone sends me over a team and they already traded away their 22 picks and they have no draft picks in the 2022 rookie draft, I'm sitting here and I'm going, well, you're all in. You have to be a competitive team because you are not incentivized at all to lose a week this upcoming season. I mean, you are just going and trying to do everything that you can to get as many points in the starting lineup right away, because maybe you have to kind of mortgage your long-term future. But if you can at least take home the pot, you can at least turn this team into a strong contender. Then all of a sudden you win your league dues where you can pay for the league for the next 7 years. I mean, you can blow it up next offseason. But you don't have to do that. And you can actually have more options. You can have more leverage. You can have more flexibility if you keep your future draft picks. So yeah, I hope that this helped in trying to talk about my strategy at the moment for a contending team. Of course, I will keep this updated as we go through and as we get closer to the season, because your strategy should change. But at the point where we're at, where training camp hasn't even started yet, I really see too many teams getting antsy. I mean, they're getting that itch. They're going, okay, this team is good. I just need to make 1 or 2 more trades and it's going to be the best team in the league. There's no reason to do that trade right now. I mean, I would rather wait and see exactly how productive Chase Edmonds is. And then maybe when we get halfway through the year, if I see that production, he's a high-end running back too, then I can trade a second and a third for him. I would rather do that than take the risk, trade a second for him right now, because I think that's just completely unnecessary. Now, thank you, my dudes. Please let me know what y'all thought about the team that I put on the screen. Please let me know if you have any of your other strategy points that you want to highlight down there in the comment section, because I read those comments all the time. I go through, I drop some hearts on them so other people can check out what you're saying in the comment section. So yeah, please let me know. Drop a like, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see y'all with the video tomorrow. We've gotten a ton of new members joining the flock. Thank you, Grind for Gold, Devin, Bungified, Brian, Brody, Victor, Chris, Grant, Trevor, and David. Thank you, my dudes.